Hey, I'm Steve, and welcome to the podcast Today Stuff with Steve. And I'm here with the amazing Kaleea. Honey, how are you doing?
I'm great today. How are you, Steve?
Oh, I'm awesome. What makes it a great day for you?
I am alive. I'm awake. It's raining outside, which is nice. That's all.
So you like the rain or do you like the sunshine? I thought
I like both.
You're a California girl.
Yeah,
You're probably the sunshine, right?
I like the rain because I didn't get it in California, and I like the sun because it reminds me of California.
I got it.
Life is all about balance, Steve.
Okay, thank you. I kind of need balance in my life. That's
do.
why you are right across the hallway from me. Across to this right here. Yeah, great. So we've done a couple of podcasts that are kind of a serious tone, and you said to me, Steve, we need to lighten things up a little bit.
Yeah, we do.
So what are we talking about today? Tell me.
Today we are talking about sermon illustrations gone wrong.
I've never had that experience.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just avoided it somehow.
No. Not true. But so what are you thinking of when you think about just that whole time? Have you heard illustrations gone bad before?
Well, one comes to mind that just happened and caught national attention. A certain pastor spit in his hand and rubbed loogie on his brother's face.
Yes, I know.
To illustrate Jesus wiping dirt and spit on the blind man and him seeing.
Well, I did read that one. That's an illustration.
That's
what would happen if I did that to somebody on the stage?
Steve, you'd be canceled.
I'd be canceled right then.
Immediately. Hashtag
what
cancel.
did his brother do?
His brother took it. He sat there and apparently there was a conversation that happened beforehand that they were going to do this thing. And I can't imagine agreeing to it, but the brother agrees to it because all for the sake of the gospel.
I don't know if it's for the sake of the gospel.
And I'm sure he regretted it afterwards, but
Who?
yeah.
Which one? You don't know?
Hopefully both.
Hopefully both?
Who would you want to be? The spitter or the receiver?
Oh, I want to be the spitter. I do not want somebody else to spit on my face. Now, if it's Jesus, that's different, but
this guy wasn't Jesus.
Not Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, starting off on a bang, guys.
Wow, man, I'm exhausted already. I heard this other guy, and I'll just give you his initials, Francis Chan. So, he tells a story about his own illustration that goes bad, that he has somebody blow up a balloon on stage, and he takes a BB gun and pretends like he's going to shoot the balloon out of his mouth. Okay, and guess what he does on the stage?
What does he do?
He shoots the balloon with a BB gun. He has this I can do that. I'm a pretty good shot. And it overcomes him, and all of a sudden he goes, I'm going to shoot at that guy's head, and hopefully I don't miss the balloon and hit him in the face with a BB gun.
Oh my goodness.
So would you let me do I'm a pretty good shot.
Never,
you know I'm a target shooter.
Never.
I've been hunting a lot.
No, I don't
I have
care.
you blow up a balloon. I have a BB gun at home.
No.
I know I could hit it.
Steve, I don't
I can do it
trust you.
99 times in a row, probably. Shoot a balloon out of your mouth.
Yeah. Okay.
No?
Maybe for John Green. We're getting there. The trust isn't there yet, Steve.
We're not there yet. You need a huge balloon, right? That's way from your face. So I did this illustration once. I was preaching from John 15 about the vine and the branch and fruit. You're supposed to have fruit and more fruit and much fruit.
Yeah.
So I had 3 volunteers come on the stage. I put grapes in their hand, and I wanted them to hold these grapes, and I don't remember what I was going to say about it. But the one guy went, "Oh, these look good." He ate them all.
He ate all your grapes.
He ate, and I had nothing. And I was like,
"What did you have to show for?"
Nothing. I'm like, I don't know where to go from here because he's ruined my analogy, my illustration all of a sudden. Yeah. And I'm like, And then he starts laughing, and the crowd's laughing, and I think they're laughing at me.
Oh my God!
This guy ends up being mayor of the city. It's it's a town of 8,000. He ends up being the mayor, and I'm like,
eating mayor.
I know. So that illustration fell flat.
Yeah, kind of
because
crazy.
he ate. So I quit doing some food things
and stopped having him as a.
Yes, that was his last time on the stage as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings up a question: are some illustrations too far?
Well, yeah, spitting on somebody's too far.
Is it?
You brought it up, so I think it is.
I think it's too far. It's too far. But if someone makes the argument that any illustration that communicates the gospel well in an engaging way is okay, what do you say to that?
Oh, man. I thought we were going to have fun. That's a serious question.
This is fun.
I think... What do I think of that? Well, it might go too far that people lost the message because of the creativity of the illustration, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm not thinking about whatever the healing of Jesus healing somebody. I'm just thinking, he just spit on him and then rubbed it in his face. Yeah. And now I can't get that out of my head.
Yeah.
So it might have been clever and really worked, but it didn't work.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think? I want to know what you think.
Yeah, I think yes, there is too far. What's hard about it is like too far is so subjective, right? Like there's tons of people who are like, man, I know exactly what you were trying to do when you did that, and it spoke to me. Mm-hmm. And then the other half of the congregation is completely disgusted and distracted. So I mean, I guess it's a question of your audience, your congregation, your culture, because you want to communicate well to people, and so maybe outlandish is okay for certain groups, but not necessarily everybody. So I think really comes down to knowing your audience and knowing what's going to land. Just like with a comedian, right? Like you can't tell the same jokes to every audience.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So I might be speaking like to a men's group, right, and I might use saltier language than I would in a church service on Sunday.
Right.
In some ways, right? Because of my audience. And so I'm going to gauge that.
Yeah.
And there's certain stories I would never tell the church at large, but I might tell us in a different setting.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wisdom.
Yeah. Wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom means that I'm not going to spit in my hands and
rub it on somebody else's face.
Yeah, that would not go over well.
Or shoot a BB gun, Steve.
Yeah, so one of my worst illustrations, I didn't do that. So one of my worst illustrations, it just popped into my head. I don't even want to tell about it because I feel like what a dummy I was. The other people in the room are like, just do it. Yeah. So I was preaching about the kingdom of God, so I went into the nursery and they had this play thing about the size of my desk here, and it was like this toy castle, and I stood in the middle of it to deliver the sermon talking about the kingdom of God, and it didn't go over well.
No.
I could tell as soon as I got it. I said, this is dumb, but I'm already locked in. Because I'm already talking. What am I going to do?
Literally locked in.
I was literally locked in.
Gosh.
Yeah, so that fell flat.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. One time I put a car on the stage.
Okay. That one landed.
That one landed.
Yeah,
that landed big.
Yeah.
And we put the back end of a truck on stage once, just the the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
Because we had a series called Tailgating. It was about relationships. Because at tailgaters, right, you have community, hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. So we put a tailgate on the stage. So I think some of those things can really, really work well.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do not.
And sometimes they do not. I wonder if there's a difference between like your average stage design and aesthetics and then something super slapsticky like standing in a kid castle.
Yeah, that was not good. Yeah, that was totally different. And then I think you got to be careful about certain topics you don't want to kid about or illustrate.
Yeah, you don't want it to get lost. Yeah, because you're communicating something important.
Yeah, I would never... I'm trying to think, like child abuse or something, or that's probably not a good example. But just certain topics I'm not going to have that kind of illustration about.
Right.
That's just not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there another pastor here who has had a crazy illustration gone wrong?
You mean in our church?
In our church, yeah.
I'm sure there has been.
Do you know of any?
Well, hold on. Are you fishing, or have you heard of one?
No, I'm fishing.
You're
I haven't
fishing?
Heard any? Yeah.
Well, we had.
What's the history?
This is not an illustration. It's kind of a quirky thing.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, normally we like sermons to be 40 minutes in length.
Right.
But when you go 67 minutes. 67 minutes. He denies it to this day that
An
he
hour
went
and 7.
hour and 7 minutes, and that means we had 3 minutes for singing.
Oh my god! So the worship got cut too.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh
So,
my gosh!
so that's always a thing. And then the other thing is when I have missionaries come and talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes okay, I love all our missionaries. I don't want to have any letters or emails, but man, sometimes they can be as boring as oatmeal. I just probably shouldn't have said that. But anyway, see, that's an example of me popping off a little bit. So and sometimes they can use language and illustrations, but then I got to give them a break because maybe they've lived for 10 years in I don't know, some other country, and it's hard to come back to their original culture.
Appropriate and what isn't.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that can be an issue.
Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So here's an illustration. So you bring up a fifth of whiskey on the stage.
Okay.
Not that I did that. Okay. But I've heard of people doing that, and they're talking about, and then maybe they take a drink right there on stage. I don't think that's a good idea.
Wow. Really? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I have.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and if you're trying to make some example, hey, you shouldn't be getting drunk or something, but that's not. I don't think that's the way to communicate that kind of stuff.
I don't think it is either.
Plus,
you could have people who are recovering in your congregation, and you just walked on stage with whiskey. So I wonder what happens at these pre-service meetings. Like when people go over their illustrations, do the people just say, yeah, that's a great idea? Or is there some kind of like checks and balances for speakers and the illustrations that they want to do? Or are they kind of insulated? I always wonder about that.
Well, we go over it all on the.
We do,
right?
We do.
And people talk about, hey, I'm going to say this. Like, okay, last week I used the story, I guess, I don't know, it's a visual illustration of calling my wife.
What did you call your wife, Steve?
Well, she called me a fathead because we were playing cards and I was pushing her buttons and bragging about how much I won all the games. Yeah. And then she called me a fathead, which is kind of her pet name for me, but she said it in a tone. And I said, well, you fat. I couldn't think of anything to say. I just said woman. And it was the wrong thing to say. Well, I shared that up front in church.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for two reasons. One, I want to know that, hey, I'm normal just like everybody else, and that happens in life.
Yeah, you say dumb things.
Secondly, I used an illustration of digging your hole deeper because then I tried to make excuses for it, and it's just digging.
Right.
And in life, sometimes you just got to stop digging as well. So
yeah.
So sometimes
connected to your overarching sermon, and you wanted to relate to other people. Yeah, I think that's a good.
But I ran that by people in my office.
You did, exactly.
And I ran it by my wife.
And you didn't just go do it.
Well, yeah, I didn't just go. I ran it by a group here in my office, and then I ran it by Mary to make sure she was okay with that. Right. Yeah. And she was.
That's wise.
Because it makes me look dumb.
Anything that makes you feel dumb. Yeah. So I wonder, like I said, I wonder with the spit situation, what the conversation was. Did the person sit down with their brother and say, "Hey, I'm gonna spit on you," and did the brother say, "Sounds great"? Were there other people in the room? I just wonder. I wonder about these things, Steve.
Well, you have other things. Yeah, I mean, where's the filter, right?
Yeah.
And then you have people who sleep on the roof of their church for 100 days.
Yeah.
I think there was I think Ed Young in Texas did that.
Did he really?
Yes.
No way.
Yes, I might be misquoting, but I think he did that.
Wow.
And
to illustrate what?
It was it was a sermon series called, I think, Sexperiment.
Sexperiment?
Yeah. And
what does that have to do with the roof of his church?
They slept up there every night.
Did they sleep with each other?
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
I'm pretty sure. Am I right? He doesn't remember. He doesn't even want to say.
Come on.
Okay, you'll probably Google me.
I will.
If I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
They have a book called that. That's
I know.
crazy.
That's why I think they were introducing that. But I would never.
I hope not.
I mean, that's.
It's too far, guys. Too far.
That was. Yeah, that's too far.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind,
It should, like, what's the standard? Like, shouldn't there be a Christian standard? Stuff like that shouldn't change from pastor to pastor.
well, of course it does. I mean,
Yeah, it does, but should it? Yeah.
So it's 24 hours. It wasn't 100 days. It was 24 hours.
oh, he's already Googled in the background if
my
you're wondering. So,
gosh.
yeah, it was 24 hours. So I was right, but I was,
24 hours.
yeah.
They were, okay.
Of course, you have to be in sunny Texas in the summer for that, but not
Right.
here. But
However,
anyway, we got more.
However,
Now we got
okay.
more information.
What's happening?
a pastor in Chicago did sleep
Oh, yeah, those
for
guys.
100 days to end to bring awareness to end violence in Chicago.
Yeah, so those two pastors, I've been
Okay.
reading about them, and that's more of an activist thing.
Right.
That one.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Making
everything,
a
but I've read about that.
statement. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Interesting.
had. I'm sure I've had illustrations that have fallen flat. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But then there's falling flat, and hey, they don't work very well, or they're just illustrating. Hey, you shouldn't have done that. That was
Yeah.
kind of crossing the line.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
please don't ever again.
Yeah, don't use that illustration. I think one is using anything that looks like confidential information that you shouldn't have said. So if I'm going to talk about a situation as an example, I may need to clear that with somebody.
Okay.
I would never use their name, but maybe they don't even want me to mention it,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever that might be. So I'm pretty careful about that. I'm also careful. I've learned the hard way. Don't talk about my kids unless I've already told them I'm going to talk about them. I think that's a good rule of thumb too.
That is.
And sometimes I forget, but my kids are older now, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
As big a deal.
Yeah, but you still.
Yeah, and I try to clear everything if I'm going to talk about something at home with Mary. I try to run those by her. But after 30 plus years, I kind of know what she's going to say yes to and no to. But
Yeah.
she always likes to be told ahead of time
Yeah.
that, hey, I'm going to say something here.
Yeah, it's thoughtful, considerate of her. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are ones. And I also think that illustrations from the pulpit need to be somewhat applicable to the message and just not thrown out
Right,
there.
yeah.
I think there's an exception for that.
Yes.
But I think by and large they need to really illustrate the truth of the scripture. Yeah, they need to illustrate the truth of the scripture. Or
Right.
they can show people, hey, this is how you live that out.
Yeah.
And a funny story might be how not to live that out. And here's a story about how to live that out.
Yeah. Making sure that it's applicable, actually. Yeah, I wonder about, aside from illustrations, just how important it is to protect the church, protect your ministry, especially from on stage as a pastor. There's another pastor whose son recently dropped an album, mega church pastor, and his son dropped an album that's like actually quite explicit, and he allows his son to perform the music at like the youth groups. So I wonder in that situation as well, like where are the checks and balances, and why is there no, or there should be a protection over what's said, especially if you're platformed on a stage. So it makes me think of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just protecting the integrity of the church or
Right.
protecting the integrity of the gospel or the
Yeah.
message that you're trying
The
to.
credibility.
Yeah, it's a credibility factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for guest speakers, there's also another little thing here that they may tell a funny story just to. We have this saying, when people laugh, they relax. When they relax, they listen.
Yeah.
So I get that. But for the person who speaks every Sunday to the same group of people, hopefully most people are already relaxed, and I don't have
Right.
to say something to kind of
outlandish to get people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's balance to everything.
Yeah, but I think you're right, because you said, hey, is there a filter, a grid, or a
standard.
Or standard, yeah.
Set standard.
yeah. So I know that you've talked here at church, or you've talked to lots of youth groups. Have you used some illustration or something that you went, oh, that didn't go over?
No, but I'll have my day. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not super illustration heavy. I just usually tell like personal stories, but I would love to start using more illustrations.
And I think personal
Yeah.
stories are pretty powerful.
Yeah, they are powerful, but sometimes you want to have fun up there too. So thinking about ways to do that more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of I think one of the things that young preachers can make a mistake about is that they will substitute lots of illustrations for content, and then they can be, sacrifice biblical content for jokes or a lot of statistics or other content.
I see.
I think that can be a temptation.
Yeah.
On the other hand, recent seminary grads will give lots of content and no
illustration.
This is how you live that out.
Yeah. No practicality. Yeah.
No
that
practicality.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable because you just drank from a fire hose at getting a degree, and now it's all coming out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that totally.
Yeah. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Illustrations gone wild.
Illustrations gone wrong. Too
gone
far.
wrong,
Or
not
too
wild.
Far. Yeah.
Too far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll make sure not to do that here.
That's true.
Or try to.
Well, have we wrapped up?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I'm Steve, and this is
Kaleea, honey.
And grace and peace be with you.